Thanks for joining us again for another Q&A. I'm out picking up random strangers like I normally do. It's my favorite thing to do in life, in case you don't know that about me yet. And I managed to pick up this random stranger. And actually, in all fairness, she picked me up. I'm just going to say up front, but I'd like you all to welcome Beverly Bradley to the Q&A today. Good afternoon, Beverly.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So interesting enough, you did pick me up because you sent me a Facebook message, but I was just wondering, through obviously a chain of events in our lives, I ended up as the development person for Susan G. Komen. How did you end up contacting me? Like, what happened?
I had watched an interesting video that you had done with a mutual friend who works for a Hope Cancer Center. And I thought, well, that looks fun. And any chance I have to talk, well, that was it. So I did email you then. Now, how have I hooked up with Komen in general? I go on their walks. I've supported them in various ways, which we can get into later, but I was happy to do this.
Are you by any chance a breast cancer survivor?
Yes, by any chance I am. Diagnosed in 2017, January, with triple negative stage 4 breast cancer, de novo they call it. And this is my chance to plug, please get your mammogram. That's my new message. Had I? No, I mean years before, and had I not waited, as you know, the earlier you catch cancer, the better the results are. I was fortunate that mine are good, but I just take this chance to tell everyone that the minute I can. So I hadn't had a mammogram, and I went in because I found a lump, and the tech said, let's just take you across the hall and get an ultrasound. So I knew already. And the techs aren't allowed to tell you. And so I tricked it out of her and said, she says, where should I send these results? And I said, well, I was thinking of getting an oncologist. And she said, good idea. Well, then I knew. I mean, I already knew in my heart, but that's how that happened.
Yeah. So literally you just found a lump and that's what made you go in?
Mm-hmm. And
wow.
I didn't feel it before because it was huge, but it was in kind of up under my right breast, and I just hadn't felt it. So there's another plug. I'm doing all these shameless plugs. Please, they go feel it on the first. I'm a proponent of that now. So these aren't just words or campaign slogans. You could save your life.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And that is the key. You and I have actually been at an event together recently through Hope Cancer. What is it? Hope
Cancer Center, I believe. It's a private doctor's office, an oncologist.
Yes, but they're awesome. And that's Sunshine, who did do one of our Q&As, which was also really, really well done. You're going to be fabulous. She told me, you're a great person to talk to. Actually, there was another woman at that event that also walked up to me and said, oh my gosh, you need to interview Beverly. So you had a whole group of people that were out pitching you. But I was in anyway. I knew immediately.
I say I am a teacher. Once a teacher, you can take the teacher out of the classroom kind of thing, but not out of my soul. And so I teach grandkids. I teach at church. I teach teens. I still teach. But yes, I'm a retired teacher. So I am comfortable talking. I can't say I get nervous, you know.
Yeah, I also hear you're pretty funny, so I'm looking forward to some.
I think they were referring to funny looking, but go ahead.
Oh, that's my line, girl. I always say that, or I always tell people, someone always says, "Oh, you're full of good ideas." I said, "Well, I'm full of something." You know what I mean? But so you contacted me. And you spoke at this event as well about a particular organization that, if I'm not mistaken, you co-founded, correct?
Well, I don't want to say co-founded. What happened is and I do want to tell my story in more detail than the thing I did. We'll get back to that. But in the end, when I was pronounced Ned, that's not some guy I picked up. That's no evidence of disease. I wanted to find a way to give back. The reason is I had not found public support through my journey. Not that it wasn't there, but I didn't know about it. And so there were support groups all over Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Why I didn't think of that, I don't know. So I couldn't find a support group. When I found the one I ever found, the Caring Place in Vegas, which is wonderful.
Yep.
I was too sick to go. And so anyway, long story short, I wanted to help other people and give back to the community. My surgeon, Dr. Chanu Dossery, had totally founded it without me knowing. I hadn't met him. So that's not co-founding. However, what am I now? Beside his executive assistant and beside the communications director and the webmaster and the blogger. He just says, why don't you just say it's yours? It's simpler, but it is his. And he writes any medical information, and I do a lot with it. Also, the big outreach for the Silver Lining that he had in mind, and of course is my heart, is one-on-one mentoring. So if anyone goes to, and we'll give you the address later, SilverLining.Vegas, goes to there and clicks any contact button, we'll get you mentors, hopefully with your type of cancer. We can't promise, but one girl had anal cancer, so I gave her to a colon cancer mentor. But anyway, that's our big goal, and that's what we started with. Just information. I've compiled a huge list of free resources. If you're listening to me from the Vegas Valley, yes, there's a bunch of local. And if you're in New York or wherever, there's a list of national free wigs and free house cleaning. Too bad I didn't see that one when I had cancer, but just local and national resources. And so our big thing was mentoring, but then we got a group going of wonderful people, professionals, doctors, movers and shakers, and mostly cancer survivors. And we planned this whole list of things that we started doing, and then COVID. So we will get back to hospital visits when they're allowed. We have a team for that. A live support group that meets on Pecos, and the facility's a little tentative yet. We have mentoring. We have free makeup classes to help people cover some of these extra flaws you get and put in their eyebrows. I lost all my hair, all my eyebrows, lashes, and I think I lost my self-esteem somewhere along the way. So these are some of the things we do, but the main thing is we go out and love on people, and we want to just help them.
Okay, just to clarify, because I want to be sure, what's the actual name of the organization?
Well, that's the problem. It's not written somewhere because it's not even a nonprofit yet. So the website is all run together, SilverLining.Vegas. It's not .com. He's got his own domain, so it's .Vegas. And then of course, when we write it, we just separate the words, SilverLining.Vegas. A little confusing.
No, well, that's why I just wanted to make it easy for people to connect. We will also put a link on our website in our resources page as well, so people can connect to you. Now, the other thing I wanted to clarify, which I think is a good thing, so don't misunderstand me, it is any cancer, correct? Not just breast cancer.
Oh, for Silver Lining, yes. And that's why we have a support group that's for any. And if you have breast cancer, I'm going to do another plug for my good friend Anna Marie Missian, who runs Las Vegas Breast Cancer Warriors. 170 ladies. And she does events monthly, and she's back to doing those in person now with the restrictions. She is very attentive to every need. We get dozens of questions a day, and she started a whole line of apparel with Las Vegas Breast Cancer Warrior, and it just is amazing. And so if you have breast cancer, don't even join mine, join her. It's way more active and fully developed.
Yeah, and she's a little powerhouse. She's actually going to come on and do one of these Q&As too, because I've got a million questions for her. I have noticed, and one of the things that we're trying to do as an organization, and that's why I love connecting with other people out in the world, is when you are in a breast cancer diagnosis or any cancer diagnosis, and you're in the middle of treatment and you're just trying to get from day to day to day, having to find all of these resources on your own is got to be exhausting, right? It's overwhelming. You're just trying to make it through each day. So we've made a commitment to connect with other organizations, nonprofit or not, whatever works, whatever is available out there for people, and just to make it easy for patients to connect. Because even though I don't really have anything wrong with me, there are days when I don't feel like picking up the phone and battling to get information to help me get through the day. So that's why I want to do these. I want to make sure all of our constituents know that what's out there. If they want to talk to someone, if they're like, I've lost all of my hair and in that I've lost my self-esteem, I need to connect with somebody. Is it a good idea to connect with you guys?
Sure. And the only reason we're not doing the makeup classes isn't us. We could do one next week if you want. We have the place in town center. My daughter-in-law owns Baobab Cafe, and we have a room back there. But it's been the restrictions and the willingness of ladies to be, you know, touch their face or whatever.
Sure.
It's just been a problem. So we will get going. But right now, the big thing is mentoring. And I know what you mean about research, if I can go off on that tangent a minute. I always tell people to advocate for themselves. And one of the key things is do your research first, tired or not, or get a family member to do it. Otherwise, you're not familiar with terms. You're kind of lost in the whole system. And that's just one of the things I advocate for is doing research. And the other thing, which kind of dovetails with that, is get a second opinion, unless you have a wonderful oncologist like I have at Comprehensive Cancer. But that's the most common thing on these support groups I see is okay, for instance, one lady said, my doctor, my oncologist doesn't do a blood test before chemo infusions. What are you talking about? And I wrote back, we're not allowed to give medical advice, but experience works. We sort of old veterans know the best practices and what they look like. So I said, are you kidding? I always have one before my infusion because they need to know my blood count. One time it was so low, they have a certain number that they wouldn't go below, and it just missed that number. And I even had to go to the hospital and get a transfusion because it was too low. And so here her oncologist doesn't know or care or do. So we all were like, get it. All we can say legally is get a second opinion. So we help each other that way too.
And another thing that we do a lot of, we don't give medical advice either. I'm not a doctor. I've had skin cancer, but I've not had breast cancer. So I really don't have any advice, but I have been sick before. And here's what I know. It's a pain in the butt, but you have to fight to get the care you need. Even in a fabulous, wonderful country like ours with great medical professionals and insurance and all of that, nobody cares about you more than you do. So you fight for what you feel you need. And that's a mammogram. It's to know what your blood count level is. So we advocate for that a lot as well, is to be your own best advocate and partner when it comes to your own medical situation.
Because you know your own body best. And yeah. I don't want to stress gut feeling too much. We're not doctors, as you say, but you know yourself. And I've had two recent incidences, again, on my website interacting with people. And one was 70, and she said, my oncologist said, you don't need mammograms anymore. And so that 70, you can live a lot of life. What if you're going to be 99? And so she went to another one. He gave her a test. She had cancer. She had successful surgery. She was very fit, and age is just a number, younger than she was in number, right. And recovered fine. And there's just a lot of, I don't need to watch horror stories. There's a lot of wonderful doctors, I need to say, yes. But there's also a lot of horror stories I hear where they need to advocate for themselves. And as you know, we'll get into later, I wrote a book, and I started with one chapter and it turned into 3. Advocate for yourself. Bring someone with. because when I was first diagnosed, okay, here's what you have to understand. I was never around medical procedures. I've never been to a hospital except to have my children, never broke a bone. Everything was new, scary, unfamiliar. Other people might have had a more reasonable reaction, but my oncologist first took me in that very first day and said softly, as if to cushion the blow, you do have breast cancer. And after that, I don't know if it was the sounds of the planet spinning or what, I could not understand anything. And so my daughter was with, and that's why I say bring someone. And then he said, well, you have triple negative. And I never heard of any of these. I hadn't heard of positive, negative. And I thought, wait, negative's bad. Triple negative is triple bad. Then he tells me it metastasized. I didn't have a dictionary on me, but I didn't even know that word. And to my lung, that's why it's stage 4, which is the worst stage. So I had cancer bad, worst kind, triple negative bad, worst stage bad. I was getting, where's the good news in this?
Yeah.
They did say there was a lot of new trials and protocols and whatnot. We might be able to beat it. And I said, don't sugarcoat this. What are the chances? And he goes, 90% it comes back. And positive Bev said, well, I'm in the other 10%.
Yeah.
And here's a disclaimer. Positive does not cure you. There are beautiful positive women in their graves.
Absolutely.
But it helps. All these things, like I talk about and advocate in my book and all, they just are the frosting on the cake. They help. It helps to exercise. It helps to eat right. It can only help to try to be positive and surround yourself with loving people. I read this book called Radical Remission. And a little disclaimer there too. I disagree with her title, because as I got into it, she also dealt with people who'd had traditional treatment and stayed in recovery or remission. But nevertheless, she researched all around the world, flew to Tibet. I need to write another book. I have to fly to Tibet.
Take a trip, right?
Get to go somewhere. I just stayed home. But anyway, she went to Tibet and everywhere and researched cancer patients. And it turned out they had several things the same. They had a loving support system, whether that's family or whatever, church, whatever. They had deep spiritual connections, whatever their beliefs, they were different. They were deep spiritual connections, and a positive attitude, and they exercised and ate right. Well, I had all of them except the exercise and eat right. So I changed my act pronto, and chemo had devastated me so much. My story is not told in chronological order. I should go back. But anyway, chemo had devastated me so much I couldn't step on a curb 2 inches high without my son's hand. And so I started walking, I think about a half a block or block, and I finally built up to a mile. I called my surgeon, Dr. Gossery, who was by then my good friend, and said, I walked a mile. So I was probably kind of silly to these fitness people, but I only compare with myself and then I win. And it's a long journey. And I've tried to do the 7 things because, again, it's not a cure. I know vegetarians that have had cancer 3 times by 439. I'm not saying that. Hear me clear on that. But everything helps, and I had to change. That's all I know. So.
And you did. One of the very, very first things I ever did as a Susan G. Komen employee was I got thrown into speaking at this very interesting event. And the other speaker that went on before me, her mantra was a very manifestation oriented. And I remember I had a cancer survivor with me. It was she's become a very good friend of mine. She's one of our top fundraisers for the walk. I love her dearly. It was the first time I met her. And this woman kept saying, people have cancer because they choose to have cancer. They manifest it in themselves. And I literally almost leaped up and bashed her over the head at that moment. I didn't actually do that. I got up right after her and I said, or it just happens, because cancer just happens. We don't control it. Great if we could. I guarantee you if people could control it, they would. So, but I also do totally believe in a positive attitude, because I agree with you, it can't hurt. Which is why one of the things that I wanted to make sure we totally connected with is that the point of your mentoring system, to be part of that support system for people with cancer?
I think that helps me more than them. I love giving back, and it takes your mind off yourself. Of course, I couldn't do it till I also mentor for the American Cancer Society, and they wouldn't let me till a year after. So I was counting the month because I think they feel, rightly so, though not in my case, I wouldn't have talked about myself, but they want you to be a little distant from it. So I mentor for them, and I mentor for Silver Lining. And now Anna Marie's going to hook up with me. We're collaborating. I mean, nobody's in competition. We all help each other, and she'll help get me as a mentor for that too. So that's my fun. And I think that just helps loving on other people. You know?
Right. I mean, that's what that mentoring system provides for people. So if there's someone out there that's like, I don't feel like I have a support system, they should probably, there's a lot of places to connect, because I know Thrive NV, which is a new patient navigation service through the Nevada Cancer Coalition, they have a mentorship program. It's just, just reaching out and finding someone you can just have a normal conversation with. So when you say, gosh, today is a really bad day and I'm really sick from the chemo, that person's not going to say to you, oh, well, buck it up, right? Get over it. That's not going to happen. And
sometimes I have tangible advice about different things to do. But even when I don't, just say, I understand.
I understand.
Empathy and compassion. And that's what my doctor calls the website, a compassionate outreach to Las Vegas. He felt hadn't been there, but now it's getting there. That's the good news. And I'd like to repeat for the interview, if you have breast cancer, you just go on Facebook to Las Vegas Breast Cancer Warriors, or you go to SilverLining.Vegas. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, or you go to the Caring Place. It's easy to miss. People keep being late to the support meeting because it's called Children's Cancer. Something like that.
Yeah.
Britney Spears donated, but it's inside that. And they have, I went to their painting therapy, and it really is therapy. At first, we're kind of quiet, and I couldn't paint a flower, so I had to really focus. And after that, we just start natural conversations, just like you say, being in the company of someone that gets it, non-judgmentally. And I want to go back to your point about sometimes you just get cancer. I know we're in Vegas, and the reason I don't play blackjack is it's math. And here I found Lady Luck in my oncologist's office because I finally was feeling guilty. And I said, maybe it's because of my weight. Maybe he said, stop. Every type gets it. He said, it's nothing you did. It was just bad luck. And I go, oh, great. I have bad luck. Well,
and you live in Vegas.
Here. Yeah, no, I don't play that. I'm just saying. And so, yeah, the whole thing was just so, I almost didn't want to do conventional. So here's my third piece of advice, just do conventional. There's a lot of crazy things out there. And I'm on these websites, which I won't say. And all I can say is this, 1,000 people can't be lying. So some things must work for some people, some cancers, some of the time. That's all I'll say. So my son was advocating a certain protocol, and I was trying things and delaying, and my oncologist was like, where are you? And finally he said, Mom, just stay on this 8 more months. It could cure you. And I said, yeah, and I could be dead by then. So I went ahead to finish my story, went to the oncologist, and I went through everything, but I almost didn't want to because, like I said, medical things seem strange. So they gave me a tour of the infusion room, and I just started backing out. Here was people tethered to tubes and poison pumping in their veins. How did I know? The nurse was wearing a hazmat outfit, and I just went, oh no, because you got to understand, I just not used to this. And I started to leave. It reminded me of a movie, The Matrix, all this people hooked up to things. But anyway, I finally decided to go through with it, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
And then I got a port put in. That reminds me of another movie, The Alien. It looked like something was trying to birth out of my chest. I just, if denial works, use it. So I didn't look at it much. And I had chemo then from March to July. And then the tumor was surprisingly shrunk. Both doctors, the surgeon he referred me to, and Dr. Parikh, my oncologist, was really surprised. And so anyway, he said, "Would you have a surgeon?" I went, "What, on my Rolodex?" So then he said, "You want the best?" I go, "Yeah." So there's a praise for you. And he sent me to Dr. Chanu Dasar. So he was surprised. And then he did a unilateral mastectomy. I had a choice, do you want this, that, the other? I felt like I was part of a team with him. And, but anyway, we decided on that because it was only in the one breast and it's never come back. I just got my blood test 3 days ago. That's the 6-month one. They used to scan me every 4 months and 3, and now it's up to 6, and it's not back. So
you said was your cancer doctor with Comprehensive Cancer Centers?
Dr. Parikh at the Eastern.
Oh, Dr. Parikh. I have touched Dr. Parikh. I've touched him. We've fist bumped it before. I'm not calling out Comprehensive Cancer Centers only. I know there are like Hope Cancer Center of Nevada. I know there's a lot of great cancer centers out there. But I will say one of the things about Comprehensive Cancer Centers is they have their hands in a lot of different pots, in the sense that their doctors keep up on the research. They are a clinical trial participant, and I've met a handful of their doctors, and they just are really on what is happening in cancer in general. So I'm not recommending Comprehensive only. What I'm saying is, when you're out there facing this, these are things that you want to ask your doctor, or call the mentoring line and say, "Hey, here's where I'm going. What have we heard about this particular organization?" It's a great way to get feedback from people who've been through it, right?
I was fortunate to get him. A friend had him, and I was able to get in. He wasn't even taking new patients at that time. But you need to have a list of questions ready, or have your friend ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if they don't have time to answer them, they don't have time for you. So you need to find someone that does. And one of the main things is, do you do clinical trials, depending on your cancer, and if it's newly starting. But mine, like I said, was stage 4. So then we had to take care of the lung after we took care of the breast. And then Dr. Parikh sent me to CyberKnife, which now I guess that's older, but this is, 2017. It was the only one in Nevada.
Right.
I had CyberKnife. That sounded scary, but it turned out to be okay. Though I'm strapped down while a linear accelerator beams intense radiation in me. But anyway, yeah, it was good. It was like 30 minutes, 3 days done, or not burning radiation for 9 weeks. So he knows things to do. And then that cured that, or took it away, I should say. And yeah, so now I say I'm cancer free 3.5 years. I said to Dr. Parikh after the first results came back, I go, "Oh, I'm cancer free." And he's very formal and serious and says, "I prefer to say it's in remission." I go, "You say what you want. After I've been through this hell, I deserve to say it how I want." And I love that word free. So I keep saying I'm cancer free.
Yeah, I love that. Now, I do want to talk really quickly about the other elephant in the room, which is the book. So you told us about the book at this event, and I made a mental note to go, let's ask again. So just tell me how and why and where to get it. And then another thing is, we will put all of this information at the bottom so people can connect to the links for it and find it easily. They do not have to memorize the information right now, because you're going to send it to me and we'll put it on the post.
Thank you, because my whole point in writing wasn't some ego satisfaction. I'd written a book before, a different topic. It was on animals, but I just felt the need to journal is how I started. And I think that's good advice for people going through cancer. And then my surgeon said, "Well, there's an empty blog, the webmaster had designed that. Do you want to write for me?" Well, you don't have to ask me twice to write or talk, those two things. So I did that. And I just happen to have a copy here So is that backwards then on the screen? It is
Nope.
Through the Valley of the Shadow of Cancer. And I call it a roadmap to hope. It's all uplifting. It doesn't say anything cures you. It just discusses topics like seeking peace, finding hope. It even does some controversial things you may or may not agree that say, for instance, one article says, I don't like this whole be a fighter. You know, a girl came in with a t-shirt going, cancer picked the wrong swear word. And I thought, oh, really? So the rest of us are too weak to fight? And in other words, if someone's a winner, that makes the ones that don't succeed a loser. And so just all kinds of topics, keeping your identity, how to be a caretaker even. My favorite one, I'd like to read one line out of it if you don't mind.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's a true story. All of it's true. Oh, and there's places to journal too. So I ask questions at the end so you can, you know, fill in your own. People like to write in books. And I saw an ad on my computer. It popped up. I usually ignore them, but it's, do you have what it takes to be an astronaut? And I thought, well, yeah, I've survived rounds of poisonous chemicals, been tethered to lifelines, had a port inserted in my chest, endured intense doses of radiation. So floating inside a craft, coasting across deep space couldn't prove more difficult. For me, a spacewalk would be a cakewalk. Yeah. And that's how I felt. So I'm not signing up for the space program, but if I would have one point: cancer, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
And so I just wrote it to help people, and hopefully they get a kick out of it and encouragement and lots of, I'm an English teacher, I told you, so everything is fully footnoted, bibliography. I did intense research on the healing forests of Korea, South Korea, and now Finland. And they find that the phytonutrients coming off the trees actually get in our immune system and heal. So you don't just feel better outdoors, you are better. And I love research. I want to tell you one more thing I researched was sulforaphane. It's a chemical in, it's a phytonutrient in cruciferous vegetables. So here's another thing I just want to say. I was raised saying eat your vegetables, but that's so vague. And what does it actually do? And will it help me right then? Maybe I'll wait till tomorrow to eat my vegetables. And so this way, when I researched and found out medicine is in food, it's just like drinking medicine to eat that carrot. And they had a lot of test tube studies on the sulforaphane, and it works killing breast cancer cells. But now at Johns Hopkins, they did a study with women that had breast reduction surgery, and I document all this in my book with sources. And then they tested it. They had them drink, broccoli sprout juice an hour before surgery. Then they examined the tissue after. And do you know the sulforaphane was already in the tissue? It went to kill the cancer cells. If I'd known this, I mean, again, some people are vegetarians, they get cancer, but what a great chance to eat a lot of cruciferous vegetables. I mean, I just think it'll be an education if they want to buy it. It's on Amazon, but I'll give you the link later.
Yeah. Well, when you email me everything else, email me the link and we'll include that as well. I actually had a friend that I worked with for years in radio who was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she also wrote a book. So and hers is different. Hers was called Mommy Has a Boo-Boo, and it's how to tell your kids you have breast cancer. I'm loving all of these resources that are available to people. And we just we're the connector, right? Like, let me help you find the things you need. And it's true with cancer treatments as well, right? I'm not a doctor. I cannot tell you about I cannot recommend any cancer treatment. I can recommend that you investigate what's best for you, right? Mm-hmm. You look at the information that's available, talk to the people around you that you trust. Do not Google it. Google's not your friend in this particular instance, unless it's to help you find someone you can talk to. But
you have a list of resources like that. You can trust things usually that end in org. You go to major universities like Michigan or
EDU, yeah,
sites like that. But yeah, you have to be careful. And I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
Oh, welcome to my world. I'm like, I'm one of those girls that's like, oh, I got to go look that up online. I open up my browser and I've already forgotten what it is I wanted to look up. So
cat pictures, I know. No, I know what I was going to say now. It's, we also, I don't know if we have that book, but I think we do. And we have a book list site that my doctor and I have compiled on just helpful resources for cancer, with a few books that I just like. So I got to pick and put in there that maybe weren't cancer related, but 99% are cancer related. And so books can help and be informative. We have that on there. And we also have a list of frequently asked questions on the website. And again, I was fortunate. I went to my surgeon and I pulled out a type list because that's how I am. And he loved it. And when I was done, he said, do you have any more questions? So I knew I'd found the right one. And this is the trouble with corporate medicine. I know how many people they need to see per day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are doing alternate things to have their own practice now, so they can take time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a matter of finding those people, and it's okay to have questions, advocate for your own health, all of these things. And if you just need encouragement, then you can call Silver Lining or you can call Susan G. Komen. And we also have a helpline, and we will tell you, look, your health is important. I actually was just talking to a friend of mine who's got this weird thing on her eye, and she's like, I don't want to go to the doctor. She has a very, very, very corporate insurance. And she goes, they're not going to do anything. And I'm like, you're right, but it's your job, because it's your eye, to make them do something. And I go, if that means you're a pain in their ass and you're calling them every day going, it's not better, I need something else, then that's what you have to do. But it seems so sad, right? When you're not feeling well, that you have to go to that much work. So that's why I think a mentor, somebody who would just help you with encouragement, and even if it's just 10 minutes of, you know what, we're not going to worry about all of these things happening in the world. Let's just be together and talk. And let me tell you what a great person you are.
Wow. And then I want to say also that the American Cancer Society has mentors too. I don't want to leave anyone out. And I don't know if they come to me, you, or wherever, but we are building resources. And I love how you say that you're the connection, because that's what we need. There were things there and I didn't know them, and I didn't know how to find them. And so this is amazing that Vegas is really getting on the map as far as helping cancer patients. Now, I'm not supposed to advocate this really, because it's not part of our public policy that we meet in person, because we do meet on the phone. But what happens is I get to know these ladies, and that's up to me. And so a lot of times we meet for tea somewhere and just share a good laugh, a good cry. There's just a sisterhood of suffering in the cancer patients. So I can't publicly on your interview say we'll do that, but sometimes we even do, you know.
Yeah. Well, I have both my vaccines. I am not 2 weeks after yet. I have one more. Yeah, I have like 6 more days. And then I'm going to be completely in the protocol of vaccines. But you know, I'm the only person I know that is not, I don't have Zoom fatigue. I love Zoom. I love Zoom because it allows me to talk to people like this. So I'm not, but I also love meeting in person. I'm a hugger. So, you know, there's no hug in the Zoom world, but we'll get there. Oh my goodness, Beverly, have you been able to tell me everything you wanted to tell me? Have I missed something? We're going to have the contact information. You're going to send me all of the contact information. We'll put it on our website as well, so that people can connect with you guys. You'll send me the book link. We'll put that in our social media so people can connect with that. What else? Is there anything else I'm missing?
I don't think so. I feel like you know my life story.
Actually, you live here in Las Vegas now, correct?
Oh, well, there's a part we didn't cover. I am a country girl. I live in Logandale, Nevada. It's just an hour out. and I have 301,000 miles on my truck. I'm going to get a new one this week, but they're going to name a highway Bradley soon. I go back and forth. I have 16 grandchildren. 5 adult kids live in Henderson area. And so I'm there at least once a week. Tomorrow I go to another baseball game. And yeah, so I have a very full, rich life. But I like my long walks with the dog, my garden, that there's no lines in the grocery store except a couple people. Just staying put for now and driving. There's a drawback anywhere, but I'd rather drive than, So.
I get it.
Oh.
And you have a yard for the dog, yes?
Oh, a huge fenced yard, and it's just nicer, my little baby. So
I get it. I keep promising my 2 girls, which are cats, I will admit, that I'm going to buy them a backyard. I don't even care about the house part of it. All I care about is the girls have a backyard that they can run around and chase bugs and roll in the grass, because that makes them happy. So I get it. Oh, Beverly, so nice of you to join us today. I've actually learned a lot of great things. I feel this is a great resource for cancer patients. And caregivers even, because you said you have information that helps caregivers as well. So anybody.
Because I learned from my daughter, my husband is a Marine and was so supportive, and he's seen all this stuff. But if he sees a bandage on my breast, it was a little hard. I went, hey, come on. So my daughter, I actually lived with my daughter in Vegas. She said, Mom, we're by a hospital. No one knew what would happen, And so he right away said, yeah, that's good. And so it's like, go away. And so for a week, I lived with her. And even though it was only a week, I have chapters on how to be a caregiver and what to do. I couldn't taste anything, and all sugar tasted like a fish, which in retrospect was good for my diet.
Yes.
Yeah, juice popsicle from Whole Foods, the very best. And I just go, there's a trout in here. And she goes, no, there isn't. And so it was just watching her care for me and being so proactive. And our first shower was a disaster. She pretty much ended up in there with me, and we were both wet and crying by the end. But I have some advice in my book on that. One thing is, don't look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror first, not down. I don't know why that helps, but it does. Didn't stop the tears, didn't stop the shock, but it's supposedly better. And just different techniques for dealing with a lot of the trauma, I'm going to say. And then that's the other thing. Trauma reminds me. I also write about post-traumatic stress disorder. We are, back to my astronaut example, at least they get a debriefing. They've been through a traumatic flung in outer space. Well, I was flung in some unknown vast area, and I needed help back. I read this book by an oncologist that said the most common time for anxiety is post-cancer. It's like I wanted to jump back in life, but I didn't feel well enough. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go back to normal. I hate that word. And I didn't want doctor appointments again, but my calendar was now empty. My whole year was spent trying to survive, making it through the next appointment. And then all of a sudden, nothing. Of course, that's good, but it was an adjustment is all I'm saying. So yeah. I feel bad if people are listening that are just going through all kinds of things after. Call me. Don't say, yeah, but I should feel fine now. No, you don't have to feel fine now. You have permission to almost grieve. And that's another thing. People just keep calling it a mastectomy, and that's what it is. But I got kind of graphic with a friend that was minimizing it and said I had a body part amputated. Oh, well, we don't say that. No, we don't. But that's what it felt like.
That's what it is.
Somebody had their foot amputated. It's such a trauma that I don't think that side of it is dealt with enough. And we're here to support whatever you're feeling, whatever stage you're at.
I love it. That is awesome. Oh, Beverly, thank you so much. So we'll talk about SilverLining.Vegas, because that's the extension, and the book when we post our little notes at the bottom. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.